Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. Champions League football is back at Tottenham. A wait of 923 days firmly comes to an end, and Spurs return back to the Champions League with a win. Pretty win. Decisive win. We'll let you be the judge of that. It finished Tottenham Hotspur 1. Villarreal 0, a fourth win under Thomas Frank, thanks to a Luis Jr. own goal. Slightly subdued night, I think it's fair to say, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But look, important to start the Champions League with 3 points. And Villarreal, I think I have to say this at the top of the show, they are no mugs. But I do know there's maybe a degree of concern by our lack of intent at times. But look, I think on the positive front, what have we had? We've had 9 goals so far. We've had 1 conceded, 4 clean sheets in that time. I think, very important we said this at the start of the show. We know Thomas Frank has been saying that there's been a massive emphasis on phase 1, which has been trying to ensure the defence is structured. And then we are going to come on to phase 2 and phase 3. Why can't we have phase 2 and 3 now? I know that's what you're asking me. It's going to come. It's going to come. We hope it's going to come. What is come and arrived here is an absolute top-tier panel. It's a Europa League finalists revisited, reunited, as we take you through Season 8 and Last Word on Spurs back in the Champions League. I'm joined by the best actors in the land, Darren Hart, TJ Ramini, alongside my man... Mars over at the Spurs Kings, that's going to guide and steer us through. I promise Mars one day I will say he's in the acting gang. I will say, sorry Mars, we will get there. Guys, keep liking, keep subscribing to Last Word on Spurs. Hit the notification bell so you're aware every time we go live. Let's bring you in the match facts and the stats before we bring in this wonderful panel as it finished Tottenham Hotspur 1, Villarreal 0, Tottenham 9 shots to Villarreal 10. 1, I believe, on target for Tottenham. It was the most important one. Or does it even count as a shot on target for Tottenham? The goal. Luis Jr. helping us to that goal. Block shots. Spurs had 3. Villarreal had 4. Tottenham the busy of the two sides in terms of tackling on the night. 17 tackles for Tottenham to Villarreal's 14. Villarreal the busy of the two sides mopping up. 15-6 in terms of interceptions. Clearance-wise, both teams having their fair amount of clearances during the game. 35 to Villarreal to Spurs' 26. Corners, they shared 3 apiece. Tottenham edged the possession 58% to Villarreal's 42%. And the XG on this one was very down, wasn't it? 0.58 to 0.54. Marlon's chucking away in the background there, which kind of tells you what kind of game this was. We joked off there. You could have missed it or blinked or fallen asleep, and probably not really missed too much. It was kind of one of those games, but I can tell you Tottenham are now unbeaten in the Champions League in their last 21 home games in UEFA competitions. 56 goals scored, 13 conceded, 11 clean sheets. But look, Miles, let's start with you. I don't think we can get away with it too much. Job done, nothing really more than that. By no means pretty, but 3 points, the most important thing secured. Highlight of the game for many would have been probably booing Thomas Partey and nicely Rando Kalamawani get a few minutes. Miles, give me your thoughts on Tottenham 1, Villarreal 0. We're off the mark in the Champions League.
Yeah, no, 3 points is 3 points. Win's a win. Clean sheet's a clean sheet. But it did remind me a lot of the last game we played in the AC Milan game where we drew 0-0. It was just as bad as that. Look, at the end of the day, I think the goal, getting the early goal kind of went against the whole game and the whole game plan with both teams, and the keeper making a mistake. But if you're Thomas Frank in this situation and you're half of these players who are playing their first Champions League game tonight, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to get off to a win. You don't, when you have these home games now in these league phases, you don't want a negative result. Otherwise, it makes the away games a lot harder and a lot harder to go through. So look, it's one of them. I could have watched something else. I could have watched another game. You know what? I'll be totally honest. I should have watched Juventus versus Borussia Dortmund tonight, and I probably still.
What game that was?
I could have still come on this.
Do not switch off here, by the way. Do not switch off here. You'll catch it later on the rerun. Do not switch off. Do not switch off.
But look, at the end of the day, we've just got to, as Frank said, and in his interview that I saw, you've just got to be happy with the 3 points. Even the ex-pros were like, look, it wasn't the greatest to watch. Most of us are probably quite disappointed. And it probably comes off of what we saw in the first half against West Ham and what we saw against Bournemouth. In the last 3 games, we have struggled against 11 men and creating those chances. And I think it's kind of where we're at the moment. And as you said, if he's looking at phase 1, he's keeping the clean sheets. If we go back to how we were before, it's going to be, at least we're not conceding many goals. The only problem is at the moment, I think we're not conceding the goals, but we're giving up some chances that the other team are taking. And I don't know how long that's going to last, because that's the bit we need to stop giving away, because we've got lucky with Paqueta, we've got lucky with Buchanan tonight, but even Nilsson punished us last time. And I think that's what the first 2 games were brilliant, we were great, but it's just the last 3 games have it's been a slow start and it's just kind of getting there. But look, I'm not going to sit there and complain. I'm happy with the 3 points. Again, I'm going to say it again, I weren't happy with the lineup, but I know, but here we are, 3 points on the board. Let's move on. Let's move on to Bodo.
Yeah. I'd be worried at this stage by fans that are really getting down on the team, Tej, because we said this the other week. This is a new manager. There's 4 or 5 new players around the squad. It takes time to bed these in, and I will just keep emphasising that. 5 games played, 4 clean sheets. This is the start of a new manager really figuring out his best team, his best selection, where to play players. And, again, that's our first win the Champions League 2022. It felt like a bit of a bit of a learning curve for some of the guys out there. They're a clever opponent, Villarreal. Don't underestimate them. I said at the top of the show, they're not mugs. I understand, for some, it will be a hard watch. The second half performance was patchy. I would agree with Marlon. We conceded a lot of chances, which on another day, that would worry you. But a win is a win. I think, especially in the Champions League phase, the most important thing is winning at this stage. I know we all want performances to come. We all want, of course, glamorous and front foot attacking football, as Jason McGovern would say, and I understand that. But at the same time, winning is a good habit, right? And I don't even get away from that, because we didn't always have that winning habit last season, Teach.
We certainly didn't. Lovely to be back on the show, an illustrious panel. The best lads to see after a result like that, I think, because, listen, we're all very glasses half full type people. Again, we're not going to sugarcoat too much, gang. And again, I've said this numerous times. The viewers and the listeners of this podcast are a particularly enlightened bunch. And so there's no need for any of us to come and try to, dispel any concerns, or, we're still going to talk about what we've done well and what we've done poorly. As far as fans, feeling, I think this is a worry, or listen, fans are entitled to their opinions. Of course they are. I don't feel that way at all. I have no worries at all about this very new look Tottenham under Thomas Frank. I said it on the last show, with all the great signings that we've made, for me, still the best signing is Thomas Frank. We also have to kind of look at him. It's his first time doing this. And as experienced as he is, and as wise as he is, and as clever as he is, and as tactically sound and all the rest of it, let's not forget that he is also a human being. And he is at a football club where the level of scrutiny and judgment is seismically different to where he has come. That's no disrespect to Brentford at all. It's just a fact. This is just truths. And so even if you asked the most ardent Brentford fan, do you think you'd be under more pressure at Tottenham or at Brentford? That person hopefully would put their hand on their heart and say, of course, it's Tottenham. So again, if you want to feel worried, of course, and if you want to go and tell your friends, I think this is terrible, you have every right to do that. But for me, I'm just going to look at some facts and say, today wasn't a great performance. Typically, Champions League, especially in this new system, these are very difficult games to win. If you look at, kind of early games in like World Cup or Euros, they're not the best games, right? But the most important thing is, as boring or as perhaps obvious as that might sound, is getting the win. And we have to win those home games. We have some very quote unquote winnable home games coming up. We need 16 points to go through. We just took 3, Tottenham fans. So let's be happy with the results. And of course, there are things that we could have done better. I still think we actually did quite a lot of things well tonight. Absolutely. I'll get into those later. Yep. Lovely to be back on the show. And we look forward to listening to your comments and views, gang, because, we always want to interact and give you your proper respect as well.
Yeah, well, that's an important point there, T. Look, guys, let us know in the comments. I mean, look, we do read and see all your comments that you send into the show, and that's both viewers and listeners to the show. So if you can, like I say, let us know what you thought about that performance. Please let us know in the comments. We'd be intrigued to know. I think, again, it's a reminder here, as we said, Dow, bless you, love to have Dow back on. Obviously, T talking Tottenham as well, can I just say, give them a shout out. They've already dropped their second episode. God, we better work harder. We better work harder. T talking Tottenham dropping episodes. They're dropping them even later than us. They're like about a 3 a.m. edition down that last one. God help you. Well, that's where you have to go at these stages. Get out the house and record. Don't blame you. It's like a really nice remote location where you was.
Oh, yeah, it's all crazy. It's all crazy, the madness of it all. I don't know why I'm doing it to myself. I don't know why, but we do it for the love of this club. That's what we do it for, the love of this club.
I'm going to urge you, please, go like and subscribe to T Talking Tottenham. That'll bring you in. Look, we won't get away from it. We're not going to sugarcoat it too much. We know it wasn't a pretty performance, but I feel like, you just need to get those wins on Champions League nights. And it's early stages, such early doors, and it is job done. And I think, again, we mustn't underestimate this. This is Frank's first taste of the environment of the Champions League. And I don't think you can ever underestimate or play down just maybe how he would have felt going into the game. That first time managing on such a big stage. And we'll come on to, of course, the evidence of some of the parts of the game that fans would have loved, some they wouldn't have loved as well. But the most important thing, and again, I say this all due respect last season. Now, I know we won the Europa League, but I'm not sure we win that game last season. There's such a resilience in these first 4 or 5 games, bar Bournemouth. I understand some were saying this was Bournemouth 2.0. I disagree because, we showed real steel in terms of our defensive nature. I thought Polina was a real rock for us in that midfield. I thought we defended ever so well at times. Smart defending as well. Not having to waste energy in certain situations. How did you sit down?
I foresaw this kind of game, if I'm really honest with everyone. I kind of looked at this fixture. I looked at the first game of the Champions League, and I looked at it like the first day at school. Nervous. Everybody was nervous. Our manager had never played in this competition, and it felt like everyone carried the nerve forward. And it went out onto the pitch. The goal was a lucky goal, but everyone was nervous. There were so many sloppy passes in that game, so many misplaced passes. It was a game where I looked at everybody and went, you're learning. You are absolutely learning. You're learning with each other. You haven't got a manager on the touchline, which people do sometimes take for granted when you talk about Ange. Someone who's already won stuff, who's a winner, and that kind of energy that they bring. I know people spoke about Ange being very still on the touchline, but his pre-match conversations, his pre-match pep talks, we've seen them. We know what they do. And I think at times today, they were very lackluster. They were very lost in themselves. And it's confidence. And I think we can't take for granted what your first Champions League win does to your team. They won today. And they got it over the line. And there'll be moments when you look at Bentancur as an absolute leader today. And there were moments in the game where he absolutely said, I'm here for this. I've got you. I've got it covered. And you look at a player like Bergvall, who literally grew and grew and grew during that game, confidence-wise and game management. He was managing the game in a better way. And I think some of the substitutions today were a little bit questionable in their timing. And I think that's where nerves for Thomas Frank were also there. And I think today's a day where we could, if we wanted to, just go, oh, how bad were Spurs? But what we could do, if we really want to look at it, is go, it's our first Champions League game. We've got a win. We are off the mark. The Champions League system is very different this year. 4 wins, 3, 6, 9, 12. If you get 5 wins, you're through. That's really truly, if you look at it. 4 wins, you're in the playoff and you're in the mix. That's where we want to be. And games like today, you don't have to win them pretty. You don't have to win them 5-4 and have a storming game where the fans come out raving. What you needed, the 3 points. And that's what Spurs did today. They got the job done because, as you quite rightly said, Ricky, and TJ alluded to it as well, these are games in the past we could have lost. Especially when we saw that free kick towards the end when Van der Ven had to take out their guy when he was running into the box. Those moments, that would have been a penalty. That would have been a game where we got, oh my gosh, 85th minute penalty, Spurs get the draw, or we lose it and we throw it away as a 2-1 stinker. And I think that's why I'm in a positive place with it to go, that's where we're starting, nervy, not quite there together, but we got the win. Let's see what we do next.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, Miles, bringing it over to you, because like we said there, I think we had 6 different goal scorers already this season. Look, we've had, again, the 5 games, the 4 clean sheets. I mean, defensively, what a turnaround we have had. And I keep on saying, I said it in the opening part of the show, there's been a real emphasis from Frank in terms of there being a real focus on ensuring we are defensively resilient. You know, is it fair to say at this stage there's nothing wrong with seeing the team looking defensively strong if we are working on, like we've said, that kind of phase 2 and 3, which essentially is the attacking element to it? And I think, again, we have to be honest about it. You know, that West Ham game we had, you'd read the players back for what, 24 hours, if not less than that, one training session before you rolled into West Ham. And then in preparation for the Villarreal game again, the next day would have been a recovery day on the Sunday. So you've only really got the Monday, you'd say, to some degree, to work with the players. So he's not had a huge amount of time with them. And again, I'll say this, the Champions League, you know, there is no game you can take for granted or take lightly. You know, these teams, especially Villarreal, they're a very street smart team. They've been in Europe for many, many years. They won the Europa League, of course, not too long ago as well. So, I mean, do you share or do you understand the concerns from fans about there not being enough in those kind of phases of 2 and 3 from an attacking perspective? Or do you think they will come in time? Because we're very early days here. You know, we're 5-6 games into the season. You know, as TJ has said as well, we're betting in, you know, 4 to 5 new players to some degree as well. New manager. You know, I find it hard at this stage to really criticise the manager when he's getting to know the players, you know, working out systems in very small amount of time. We've said how difficult it will be to kind of transition from a Premier League game to a Champions League game, Miles.
I think the problem that I think we're having as fans is the fixture list has been very kind to us. And after the Burnley game and how we were, I think everyone then expected when we come up against these games where we're going to be given the ball against these teams, I think a lot of people are expecting that Burnley performance. The issue that we've had is, apart from the Manchester City game, was brilliant because we're not expected to have the ball. We were defensively sound. It was completely different. And we don't ever create many chances against Manchester City. But this time we were brilliant and everything on the day against City was great. But then you come to Bournemouth and then you come to West Ham and you have to take the first 45 minutes and before that sending off. And then you have to take tonight. When we've got the ball at the moment, I think the biggest issue that a lot of people are having is that we're not creating enough in the final third. And it's all good that the defensive line is brilliant and it's doing what it's supposed to do. But even under Ange in his first season, let's forget last year because there was too many losses and everything. Even in Ange in his first season, we were blowing these teams away. And when we came up against the tough teams, that's when we were getting found out a little bit. So I think that's where everyone's mind is at. And I think because if we look at our fixtures, they're going to be very kind to us up until around November time is when it really starts to go, we've got to play the top sides. And I think a lot of people just thought that at this present moment, because we are playing these sides where we've got the ball, that we would just be literally bombarding them after attack after attack after attack. But what you can clearly see at the moment is that Frank's trying to, like Frank said, he's in phase 1. He just wants to get the defensive part right because, to be honest, we were conceding goals against all these teams. And yes, the chances, we are conceding chances, but we're not conceding chances in areas where they're going to score from. So it looks like we're conceding these chances, but they're not as easy as we will probably think they are. But when we're going forward at the moment, everything's just going through Kudos. And I think because we've got Odegaard and Telt as the only left wingers and no Son, I think this has now been what we're starting to see, especially with Richarlison tonight. We're not creating enough for any of them. And I think everyone's asking the question, Xavi should probably be playing as the 10, but then what do you do about the left side? And I think this is where the problem becomes, because we went so hard on Savio, is that you've now got to trust Odegaard and Odegaard, Johnson or Tell in that position if you're going to play them. Yep. We know the situation with Kolo Muani. He's not fit. And actually, for how good he kind of was, and he did get booked, he wasn't bad in the last 15 minutes. You can clearly see, actually, once he gets up to the rhythm of the game and everything like that, he's going to be a big asset in the Champions League, and he's going to be a big asset in the Premier League going forward. But I just think for us right now, look, I'm not going to sit there and criticize the performance tonight because, to be fair, Villarreal wasn't great either in the sense of both teams were that bad. But I think both teams were nervous. It weren't just us, it was them as well. And I think that's what we saw play out. Look, we've got obviously Brighton, Bodo, Glimp and Doncaster in the next few weeks. Hopefully we can start seeing phase 2 because I think, again, apart from, I think what's going to happen is you're going to see that we're going to have most of the ball, but we just want to see something done with it. And it will happen. It will happen. But just right now, I think we've all got to take a step back because this might be what we class. You remember we all said Frank always has bad starts when he joins the team? This might be what is classed as a bad start, but we're winning the games, but we're not seeing the performances. And I think, as you said, once phase 2 and phase 3 come into play, well, then I think everyone will go, actually, we've gone through that tough beginning. And it is a tough beginning because these games are tough to watch. They've not been exciting. And I'll sit there and say, apart from the first 2 games, the games have not been great. Every single one of them have not been brilliant to watch. And we've literally, it's a bore fest, some of it, even tonight. But we'll get there. And I think that's the thing at the moment. I think we've just got to be patient. There's been a lot of changes top to bottom.
Agreed.
We've just got to see this through over the next few months. And I know we're asking the fans and everyone to be patient again, another rebuild. But this one is completely different to the ones we've had for the last 25 years.
Yeah. But I think already, we're on the brink already here, Dale, of matching our clean sheet total that we had for last season. And again, I don't want to... you do that dangerous game and then comparing last season to this season. I don't really want to do that because, again, you then get into debates that really we don't need to have. What the past is the past. You won a Europa League trophy last season. We're grateful for last season. This is a new season under a new manager with new players in here. And it's going to take time. And I just think, I've got real genuine belief in... So far, what I'm seeing, I think great teams build from the back. Trophy-winning teams, dare I say, build from the back. And I can already see such a real genuine resilience in the way we defend, our structure of defending, the line that we play, the confidence I see from Romero talking to the players next to him, talking to Mickey. Already we look like a team defensively that, I mean this with all due respect when I say this, I don't go into games now fearing we're going to concede 3, 4 or 5. And I mean that with all due respect because of the way we are so defensively structured. And I do believe in time, the goals will come and we will see those next phases. But it's going to take time here. And I appreciate for fans that would have made that journey. I know people have travelled 3, 4 hours for some to go and watch that game. I can understand an element of disappointment when you're being charged what you're being charged to see the game. And that's really a separate subject. And I will just say the club are going to have to look at the price point for these Champions League games because when you're being charged between 70 to £100, and with all due respect, the level of opposition that we've got for the Champions League, bar PSG, let's be honest about it, it's a Europa League group. I can understand why some fans would be frustrated to leave there and not feel they would have wanted to see more. But at the same time, these are the games, the Champions League nights, they're the most difficult games to win. So to win them, you want to feel grateful about it. But at the same time, we do appreciate to not try and sugarcoat or get away from it. We know more needs to be done, Dale. We know it does.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, as Marlon quite rightly said, that it's phases we're going through. And this may be the ugly phase. And I think patience is going to be important right now. Because right now, it doesn't look pretty. But we're getting the results. And I think sometimes we can get caught up in what we want and not actually seeing what we're getting. Right now, we're getting a team that is building from the back. There's a resilience there. There is organisation there. And also, we're changing systems. The high line has disappeared. Now you've got Romero and Van der Ven together, which we lost for lots of parts of last season, which we suffered with. Now you've got a unit where these two defenders are not just relying on Romero being hard, Van der Ven being fast. Now they're learning about actual teamwork, defensive structures. And when they're playing together, you can see they look so good. And it brings the confidence. Vicario looks like a different goalkeeper when the pair of them are in front of him. You look at a Spence, you look at Pedro Porro. There's confidence that grows when you have stability at the back, but also when you're working as a unit to defend. We are pressing so much higher up the pitch, but in a more sensible, organised way. So as quite rightly Frank's saying, phase 1 is working. Defensively, we are looking stronger. As you quite rightly said, Ricky, we don't look like we're going to concede 4-5. We don't look like if a team's going to run away with us and going to blow us out the park. However, we don't look like we're going to score 4 or 5 right now. But that will come. And I think it's the process. And I think if we, like today, there were moans and groans when the ball was being lost and stuff like that. And I understand that. We just got to be mindful that we don't peak too much in that and make the players feel that too, because they're doing what we're doing. They're going through the process too. And quite rightly, Kudus has got a lot on him to be the creative spark in our team. But we've brought Simmons to come in to do that. We've got other players that will come in. We still haven't seen Solanke yet this season. We've got Kolo who's come in and we don't know where he fits into the system. And Koulibaly. And it's going to be an interesting one. And that's why we have to just maybe take a step back and just see the small wins. First Champions League game, First one at home, 3 points in the bag, clean sheet, we keep it moving. No one got injured, keep it moving, and it will build. And I think that's where we've got to be a little bit realistic this time. And we can't keep wanting fabulous football straight away. And that's what sometimes I think we get that kind of, we're Spurs, we want to see thrilling nights under the lights. And you go, you know what? Those nights will come. But today, let's take the 1-0 gritty win, because you see, if we take it back to the Premier League, Liverpool never played well at the weekend and got a 1-0 win.
No,
and that's
Real Madrid didn't play well in their Champions League game.
I mean, exactly that, Rick. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to win ugly. And that's what the really
Benfica just got turned over by Karabag when they were 2-0 up at home and lost 3-2 to Karabag. Sorry to jump in, D, but you're absolutely right. What we're focusing on now, and again, I think, sensible, pragmatic Tottenham fans can see this because it is very obvious. I'm not, positioning myself as some sort of soothsaying sage. What's happening right now? Again,
got to say one thing, Steve, when you jump in, is that I'm not comparing us to Real Madrid, right? I know we play in white. I'm not comparing us to Real Madrid at the moment. All I am saying is that
why can handkerchiefs out?
What saying is that
we won a trophy last season, but at the same time, I'm just making the point you're going to come on to now. There's no easy game. There is no easy game in the Champions League.
Every team can lose, man. Every team can lose. And the thing is that, so again, just look at the numbers, because the numbers again don't have opinions, and they're not subjective. They're objective, right? So to Darren's point, no, we don't look like a team that's going to score 3 and 4 every game, although we have scored 3 in 2 games already, not for nothing. We've conceded 1 goal. And so, again, it might not be the most exhilarating stat or fact, but if you don't concede goals, you don't lose football matches. And again, looking at how many goals we conceded last season in such spectacular, bizarre fashion, seemingly out of nowhere, and we're just not making those mistakes anymore. We're just not, gang. So the patience, yes, but we're not asking you to be patient like we were last season. We're just saying, let's watch this process occur. Yeah. Let's get behind this process. And again, most of these new additions have come at the attacking end of the field. So yes, Xavi Simons or Siemens or however we... Actually, let me open that up to the panel. I asked the chaps before we began, how are we saying that? Are we saying Simons, Simmons, Siemens?
I'm saying Xavi Siemens, like the old mobile.
Okay, well, we'll open that up to the panel. Please send us phonetic spellings as how you think we should say that, right? So I'm also going to say Xavi Siemens. Why not? It has a bit of European flair.
Make me laugh with Tish. Biggest debate of the night is whether we play well or not.
How do we pronounce Xavi Siemens?
If we pronounce it Siemens, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and also, Darren's point about Vicario was massive, and I was about to throw myself and Marlon under the bus again. He probably knew that it was coming because we've talked some smack about Vicario. I think he's improved enormously. He pinged a 70-yard ball with his right foot, and I think he's left-footed, to Bergvall tonight. I mean, he's really improved. So let's kind of see what's happening, where the improvements are coming. Marlon's giving me the come on, mate, hand signal for all those who are listening. But he has improved. I thought Porro was excellent tonight. Kudus never stopped running. Even when Johnson came on, he put himself about and made some tackles and was difficult to play against. Thank you, effing hell. Thanks very much. And also,
listeners and audio won't understand that context until will they?
No, we have a fabulous relationship, effing hell and I. Thank you so much. Does all my publicity, terribly expensive but worth every penny. And even Richarlison, was just at his. He's so difficult to play against, isn't he? He's such a pain. And we got the job done. So take the 3 points, gang. Move on, like Darren said. Move on.
Agree. Look, we are going to go and squeeze in our first break of the show for our listeners and audio. Let's hear from Thomas Frank, who has masterminded Spurs to another clean sheet. This time on the European stage, his first Champions League game. It ends with a win. Let's hear from Thomas Frank, and we'll be back after this very, very short break.
Hey Thomas, congratulations on your first Champions League victory. What did you make of the match?
Thank you. I thought it was a big win. In any competition, it's good to get 3 points and get a good start. Happy with that. Happy with the clean sheet. Happy with the defensive side of the game. I think we were extremely good and limited Villarreal to very, very little. throughout the game. A good team. I really admire. Obviously, offensively, we struggled on the day to create something against a good team that also defend very well, which we knew in the 4-4-2 structure. Very aggressive, and when we on the day, I think didn't hit the highest level in terms of touch and passes and decision making, and nailed that. Then it was a very even game that we edged in the end. What I like is that our foundation is strong. Now we are 4 games in Premier League, 1 in the Champions League, and we have 4 clean sheets, which is massive. Obviously, we are building the offensive structure more and more. Shark Simmers just come into the club. Clear today, him and Jet need a little relationship. Of course, get going. No complaints. It's just natural. And there was I think there was a spell second half where we decided to give the ball away every single time we had it. So we gave the ball away, let's sprint back. Oh, we give it away again and sprint back. So of course it's a little bit easier to sit here with a smile. But of course that level we will raise, of course.
Did you have any worries when Mickey van der Ven was brought down for the foul? So he brought down.
Yeah, of course, just in the moment it didn't look top. And sometimes I can clearly see penalties and yellow cards when it's going our way. This time there was a little bit. I was need to a little bit of hope. But when I've seen it back, clearly outside the 18-yard box, clearly he's a little bit in front. It's a free kick and it's a yellow card.
Hi, Thomas. Thomas, in that first half, the plan was clearly to go wide to Kudos and Simmons at every possibility, and they caused an awful lot of problems. But in terms of getting midfield runners to go past Richarlison, was that something in the first half that you probably didn't get in terms of?
I think actually we got some good runs from Lucas and Pape on the sides. When we went a little bit deeper, I think that worked okay. I think it was too few times that we got it high enough and got played and run and produced the crosses we wanted. That was probably the thing we didn't edge enough throughout the game. But there was actually quite a few situations where I got both to Kudos and to Xavi where we didn't produce where we should. And
just one last one from me. Just on Siemens, very effective in the first half, caused an awful lot of damage. But in the second half, really, he didn't really have the same effect as in the first half.
No, for Simmons, you say? Yeah. No, I think there can be many reasons. Also, I think there was 3, 4, 5 times where he should have had the ball quicker to create something. But on the day, it was just not, unfortunately.
The Champions League is tough. A lot of your players won the Europa League, but this is a step up in quality, a new experience for you. Do you think that coming through this and a test of their mettle will actually hold them in really good stead over the coming weeks?
Yeah, I agree with you. Champions League is unbelievable tough. It was a very good team we faced today, and managed to get out of a very tight game as winners with that feeling that you fight and run and you do a lot of things as a group together, and then get out on top as a win. I think is exceptionally good, and that just built that extra foundation, extra layers. And sometimes you can't hit the highest level and still get away with a win in an even game. I think it's fantastic.
I mean, a lot of people are talking about Liverpool winning games late. You're winning games with clean sheets, and it's fair to say that Spurs and clean sheets weren't entirely bedfellows very often last season. Is that one of the things you really were pushing for? I mean, Lucas has spoken about it in the post-match. How important is that to build that into this team, into their DNA, maybe?
This team, these players, we will score goals, and I'm not in doubt of. I know we only scored our own goal today and struggled a bit offensive, but we will score goals. I'm not in doubt of that. I think the big thing was that we needed to defend better. So we worked very, very hard on structure, clear principles, recovery runs, do the tough job, but just give you a top opportunity to win games, and we've proven so far.
Hi, Thomas. heart in mouth a little bit when
Say again?
heart in mouth when Xavi made a couple of challenges second half when he was on a yellow card, not sort of really obvious yellow cards, but the way the referee was, it felt like it could have been a second yellow a couple of times for him.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't looked into it. I think there was one on that transition you could maybe discuss. I think it just because it looked dangerous, it can't be a yellow all the time. But of course, I understand why you asked the question. So, yeah.
And just with kind of, I guess, the sort of struggling to create, it kind of feels like the midfield, you've got so many good options, but that's the kind of key to unlocking that creativity, getting that mix right, and then gelling as an attacking trio, I guess.
Yeah, and I think, and then now we also, how do we get gelling? Is that when you get that good relationship? So I think there's, for example, on the right side, Pedro and Kudos, they definitely have something going. I think Lucas came over to that side. It looks right. And then I think on the left side, I think actually Xavi and Jet did good against West Ham. But, you know, it's just not 100% in sync when maybe it's not going, as an example. And then I think we gave so many times the ball away where we could have created more second half, which just happens sometimes.
Final one, please, Tom.
Hi, Thomas. What did you make of the goal? On TV, it sort of seemed like you thought it was in, then out, and then in. You didn't quite know where it had gone.
I was just happy when I finally saw it was rolling over the line and into the back of the net. I think it was actually well played on the side, and it was good from Lucas to put the cross in.
Thomas, can I just ask you about your two penalty shouts in the first half? It was Pape Gueye both times. First Richarlison, then the handball. I mean, penalties or not?
I actually haven't seen them back, if I'm honest. What I heard from my bench was it was probably the softer ones, both of them. So yeah.
So again, that was Thomas Frank on the back of Spurs off the mark in the Champions League. Just Thomas Frank there, emphatic. The goals will come. We are working on phases 2 and 3. We're still working on phases 4, 5, 6, and 7 here on Last One on Spurs. I'm joined by best actors in the land, Darren Hart, TJ Ramini, Marlon at the Spurs Kings. Where do I have that one lined up? There you go. Never know what to expect on this show. Keep liking, keep subscribing. We've got over nearly 5,500 of you that are watching us live. Thank you so much for your incredible support for Last One on Spurs. Please also make sure you go and give a subscribe to Spurs Kings TV, to T Talking Tottenham. And if you do a bit of quizzes in your life, just to separate you from the world, go and check out TJ's quizzes. You know, if ever you need to be taken to California or sometimes Hollywood, go and make sure you check out TJ's latest quizzes, please. And let's, like I say, we're going to discuss, obviously, the game itself and how it did, obviously, end up being just a 1-0. But also, I think really important there, we do emphasise what Frank has said, really, is what we covered in the opening half of the show. Real emphasis on the fact the goals will come. Understands there needs to be more emphasis on the attack. And I think, you know, again, when we come onto the game and we break it down shortly, we can see those areas need to be improved. But let's bring you in before we do a reminder on here on Last One Spurs. We're delighted to be sponsored by NordVPN. You're going to need them if you're travelling home and away this season, of course. A lot of people will be making our European journeys. For you out there, of course, you get an extra 4 months of free on a 2-year plan. No money guarantee. No risk whatsoever. NordVPN.com/LWOS. Your favorite TV programs and more you can get around if you need to in the world of 2025. I shall say no more. Lineup-wise for Tottenham in terms of how they lined up. Look, Thomas Frank, he made 2 changes on the club's return to the Champions League. Bentancur, Richarlison both coming in to start against Villarreal, with João Palhinha and Matisse Tell coming out of the starting lineup. We had Lucas Bergvall starting again after his goal and assist versus West Ham, as did Pat Matassar, who also impressed versus the Hammers as well with a goal. In the attacking areas, we had Xavi Simons on the left again with Kudus on the right. 16-year-old Junior Byfield on the bench, having just played in the afternoon's 5-3 win against Villarreal for the under-19s at Hotspur Way. So well done to the under-19s. The Tottenham team lined up with Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Bentancur, Bergvall, Kudus, Sarr, Xavi, Richarlison, with a bench of Kinski, Austin, Danso, Palhinha, Udogie, Gray, Johnson, Odegaard, Davis, Kolo Muani, Scarlett and Byfield. For our visitors, 1/4 started for Villarreal. His last appearance at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was Pochettino's last game in the 1-1 draw against Sheffield United back in November of 2019, where, of course, Poch lost his job. He made 3 appearances under Jose Mourinho, but all of them were away from home. Miles, thoughts on the lineup? You said it was wrong. Second game in a row. Thoughts on it? Why was it wrong?
It's that midfield. Again, we're asking it to. A lot of us are asking us to create chances and be on the front foot. Them 3 just don't work together. They're not passers of the ball. So you are then relying on Kudus a lot, and then Simmons to come inside. I think Simmons came more inside against West Ham because he was allowed to. I think today he was kept more out wide because that's how Villarreal kind of played, because they were playing 4-4-2 as well. So, which is an old-fashioned way of playing these days. But this is going to be the problem going forward if we don't have that player inside being creative. And we've got Johnson, we've got Odegaard, we've got Tell who can play on the left. Unfortunately, we didn't get another winger, so we're kind of stuck, and we've got to use these 3 now. And I think for the balance of the team, we've just somehow got to fit one of them in and start playing them now, because if we don't, we're going to see a lot of these games where we're looking to create chances and we're not. And I said that I was worried against West Ham as well. I believe we should have gone with Simmons in the middle and had someone out, probably put Tell out on the left. But I get that whatever happened with Richarlison coming in late and Conan Moani couldn't play, it is what it is. But tonight, there's no excuses in that sense. I think, again, if we're gonna be more on the ball, we just need more players in the middle to kind of take control. And unfortunately, Sarr and Sarr and Bergvall, yes, are playing well, but when they're progressing it in the final third, they're not progressing the ball as well as they should be. And that's why I think everyone has said tonight, especially in the chat, the passes weren't great. And that's going to be your biggest problem.
It was incredibly soft. We wasn't incredibly sloppy.
When you've got 3, Benson Cole's probably out of all 3 of them the best passer, but he was playing the 6 role, which I said would probably happen tonight. Him and Paulinho would swap, but we still just need more ball players in the team. And I think, look, Frank's going to learn this. And hopefully what will happen over the next few weeks is that Johnson, Odegaard and Tell give him a headache. And I know Tell ain't available for the Champions League games, so I am looking at Johnson and Odegaard to take that left wing spot.
Yeah.
So that Simmons can come in.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the moment, from what I can see, that there is a degree of fair understanding on that, Miles, that at the moment we don't quite know what our best 11 is in terms of how they're going to line up, how they're going to obviously be structured. And I think, again, this comes back down to the point, Dal. It's a fairly new side. It's a new manager that's getting to know his players, and I think that's what you would expect in his opening days. I don't think you can expect the manager to have all the answers on what match day 6 or match day 7 when he's getting to know the group. He had a deadline day signing Conan Moani come through the door. Hasn't really had a proper chance to train. He was thrown on the field, obviously in the game, got a booking early on. I just feel at this stage, really, as he has really emphasised during that post-match press conference, he said, this team, these players, we are going to score goals. There's no doubt about that. We know obviously we only scored an own goal in this one, but the key things that he was really relating to is the fact that he's worked very, very hard on the structure, the key principles, the recovery runs, and I think we can all be testament to saying we're seeing that. I think no one can deny we aren't seeing these players, really showing us the key attributes to win games. They're showing the hunger, they're showing the effort, they're showing the desire. I think that attacking element that we're all craving will come, but Rome was not built in a day. Dow, it just doesn't, nothing comes together 7 games into a season, does it? And I think it goes back to what Miles says there. Will he know his best 11, in a couple of weeks' time? I'm not too sure. That's why, again, you have the cup games there to experiment to some degree. I think I heard you sit on talking Tottenham, Dow. We don't want to see 9 to 11 changes made. He still needs to go out there and win the game, but it's about picking the right team. That's the right balance to get the results and also learn as you go, right? It is about learning at this stage. As much as that might frustrate people, it's learning.
And I think, Rick, you hit the nail on the head about learning. And what I got out of that presser just then was he spoke about opportunities in the offensive area that were missed. He spoke about Simmons making runs 3 or 4 times and not being given the ball early. He spoke about Sarr and Bergvall making runs forward at the right time and the movement of the ball wasn't correct. And that is what phase 2 is going to be about. Him addressing that and going, the patterns of play that I want at the top of the field are not correct yet. This is what I need you to do. This is where the movement needs to go. And it may be like what Marlon's saying is he goes, okay, I need to bring Simmons into the middle. I need Xavi there because then he's going to be the one who ticks it around. Then I have to rotate my midfield around him. It's going to be about keeping the ball safe with him. Bentancur and Paulinho being the ones holding that 6 right now and going, you break down play and you move the ball to him as quickly as possible. Get Xavi the ball as quickly as possible with Kudus going one way, Johnson going the other, and whoever's at the central point of the attack getting ready for the crosses. And that's probably what we're building toward, because let's look at the sides he's been at before. Their attacking lines have been great. Like, you look at the players that he's played with, they've not been to the level that we have, and he's made them look amazing in the offensive side of the pitch. So let's look at what he's got. He's seeing potential. He's seeing the ideas. He saw a great defensive performance today, but saw the flaws up front. Like, let's not sugarcoat this. We had one shot. And that's not what he's going to want.
And I'm glad also, Dale, he's recognised it. You know, if he was coming out after game saying that's acceptable, that's the level, I'd be worried. But, you know, he stressed the fact about it that the reality is he has reiterated the case that he's coming over to you. The offensive game needs work on. And I think he also addressed the fact that he brought in the press conference there is that he said there was a spell in that second half, which again is what really frustrated fans, where we decided to get the ball away time after time. And, you know, we want to bring it back, but then we let it go again. It's a little bit easier to sit there after a game with a smile on your face, but we know we need to raise the level. And I think it's really important that at least the manager is seeing this. You know, he's not being fooled by what's in front of his eyes here. This is work in progress. It is work to do. But I think the thing that we can all be happy about is that we're getting results whilst there's work to do. And as long as we're getting the results and we can see it's been worked on, then I can only view that as a positive. I think the only time you view it as a negative is when you're not getting the results and you can't see that the work's being done.
Absolutely right. I mean, you know, to Darren's point, we had one shot on target. It went in off the goalkeeper. Poor lad. I did feel for him. I was saying to the chaps again before the show, I know, of course, this is a Tottenham podcast and I'm a Tottenham fan, of course, through and through, but I did feel sorry for the young man. It's his first appearance in the Champions League, and the poor kid, you know, made a howler, poor lad. But I think it didn't help us getting that early goal, and especially in the sort of extraordinary manner in which it was scored. But they had no shots on target, 0. So, you know, again, I don't want to keep banging the same drum. And again, like I said, right at the top of the show, people are entitled to their opinions. None of us, nobody on this program, whether it's Ricky who runs the show or Darren who's been on it, you know, so many times and always speaks the truth, Marlon with, you know, expert analysis, whoever it is, nobody on this program is going to try to, you know, bend your opinion or say that our opinions in some way or manner supersede yours. All we do is speak our truths. And so, again, I like to look at the numbers. 0 shots on target. And again, look at market areas of improvement. If we are going to be the kind of panel and show and fan base that criticize justifiably, like I said, we talked about glaring frailties in Vicario's game, which for me, I can clearly see he's working on. So I think it's also very important to give people their propers. You know, if we're going to chastise people, we should also give them their plaudits. And so, you know, Bergvall, I said this ages ago, under Thomas Frank, I believe, again, not that I'm some wise soothsaying sage, I believe will become one of the best central midfielders in Europe. I said that ages ago on the show, and he's proving it. And so we won the game tonight. It wasn't thrilling. It wasn't pretty, but my goodness, it was solid. You know, they're flying back to Spain thinking we couldn't lay a glove on these guys. I mean, of course, some of them are going to say, you know, if I could finish a bit better, it might have been a different game, but you couldn't. And so let's take the wins where we can get them literally and figuratively, and look forward to the next game. We looked so solid. And my goodness, you know, last season we were shambolic. And so that's happened very, very fast. And to Darren's point, to your point, Rick, Marlon said it as well, we are in a learning phase. And that's just where we are. And we're also winning games. Happy days.
That's what I mean. You know, at this stage, I know we all want to see it come together, but that just isn't the reality of the way life works. You know, things do take time. Alan here says, really good comment from Alan here. He says, Villarreal won 11 of 19 away from home in the Liga last season, including Barcelona away. They can be difficult to play against. They move the ball well and they press well. And to be fair, I thought they pressed us excellently in the second half. They really, really did. I will just give a very quick shout out to THFC flags. I mean, the tifo they created before the game was absolutely sensational. We endorse, we support them at THFC flags. What an amazing tifo that was before the game, getting the fans right up. I know there's only about 220 Villarreal fans in there, so credit to them that made the journey. You know, again, we appreciate, London prices, London ticket prices, Tottenham ticket prices. Yeah, I mean, that's another show, that's another story, definitely another time.
Can I also just give a quick shout out while we're talking about the fans? I think the way that they treated Thomas Partey, I really got behind that. You know what I mean? So I thought, yeah, man, good job there. Somewhat controversial, but good.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just
superb.
Guy was terrified to touch the ball.
I think that's why he was on the bench to start with, not on the field.
Good. Put your hood up, Darren. We can still see you.
I'm not sure about Partey wanted to come on. Do I have to go on? You do have to go on. Okay, then.
Big up the fans, man. I was like, yes, have that.
We know what you are with the Thomas Partey. We know what you are.
So good, bro. I was like, yes. Go on, Tottenham.
Yeah. I think he wanted off as quick as he got on, to be honest with the poor bloke. I'll say poor bloke. Look, for what he's done, there's no poor about it. Let's come on to Spurs going ahead. I mean, look, horror moment, TJ. You said it's a horror moment for the goalkeeper. It was a terrible moment for the goalkeeper. Not that we're going to really be that bothered about it because it worked in Tottenham's favour. Lucas Bergvall sending a low cross. The keeper dived down just to let it roll through his hands, across his body and into the net. I mean, it does get worse every time you see it and look at it. And it's one of those where really, I think, if he tried this again, 10 times, I don't think he could do it again because it was such a very freakish goal. But look, we don't care. It Spurs one up. And I think on that basis, I mean, do we say, Miles, the early goal is the most important thing. It settles down the crowd. Again, we made that point. It's Frank's first Champions League game. Getting that early goal would have settled the crowd down. And I think the key also is when you score early, I think fans want to then see the team go on, attack the opposition and go and get 2, 3, 4 and 5. When those goals don't come, frustration actually builds, Miles, right? Is that fair?
Yeah. And I think, like I said earlier, it did kill the game a little bit because actually Villarreal had something to chase and then we kind of had something to keep. But as for the goalkeeper, I've played in goal in my life, and I'm going to sit there and tell you now what he done was a skill. To be able to actually go down and where he put it in. Every time I've watched it back, I'm like, how has he done that? How has he literally done that? Because there's no way for the way he's done everything correct, but there's I don't know if he takes his eye off the ball or what he does, but there's something that he just suddenly does. It's an art. And I have to give the goalkeeper credit. And to be fair to him, yes, he made the mistake. Yes, we didn't have many shots on target, but he didn't let it affect his game. So I have to give him credit there because at the end of the day, that's been the decisive goal of the game, and that's basically been
terrific save, didn't he, off that Saar shot? Terrific save. Yeah.
So look, but yeah, the goal kind of early would have been settled the crowd and everything. But as you say, it then became with expectation. And I think that expectation, like the guy said, if Villarreal have won 11 out of 19 games away from home, they're going to make it difficult. And they did make it difficult. They're going to make it difficult for other teams when they go away from home. And actually, I thought they were very well set up. And I haven't watched much of Villarreal over the last season or so I didn't really know what to expect. But I was really impressed with the way the manager has them because there's a lot of players in that team where you kind of go, would I have him at Spurs? Probably not, but you can see the way he's got them working together. And do you know what? I think we'll look back at this in 7 games' time and go, actually, that was a really good result, and we were quite lucky to get away with the 1-0 win, and we'll take it on the chin. But you know what? It is what it is. But yeah, to get that goal early, brilliant, especially at home. Just getting it at home is also more important, and we could just kind of move on from there.
I might be cane for saying this, pardon the pun. Sometimes it's good to be lucky than great. Realities on the night. Didn't play that well. Got the result. Got the goal, and it was freakish to it. But they all count, and it worked into Spurs' favour. I mean, it was a weird game because, to be fair, I mean, Villarreal had some good moments really after we scored, and there was a Pepe effort that just fizzed wide, and Spurs had a couple of attacks of their own, but I think it's fair to say from like the 20th minute onwards, there was this kind of degree of maybe concern, the amount of chances we were giving up and giving away. And I know, Tej, you touched upon this as well, that that's why we can't sit here and try and dress it up. That everything was fantastic and it was all swashbuckling. It was 5 stars, because there were moments in that game that were a concern. I don't want to keep bringing up referees, but, the last couple of games, we've had some really bizarre refereeing performances. Rade Obranovic decided off our in that the game was missing a lot of yellow cards and just started giving them away like they were Christmas cards. Xavi got one for standing on Marino, which we'll come on to the second one because there could be an argument that Siemens could have been off in the game. You could argue and you can make a point he should have been off. Then Richarlison was booked for hacking down 1-5. I mean, both yellow cards could have easily been avoided. Just to be clear, there is a suspension in the league phase. So, we have got to be careful of that booking element to it. There will be a suspension in the league phase, but you had Simon Hooper looking like, Kalina on the night, just absolutely giving the cards away. Is that just a sign, Tej, of, referees in Europe? Some are more relaxed than others. Some want to get the cards out. I mean, it's just depending on the competition you're in, right?
Yeah, and you have to, remind ourselves this is the world game, and the game is viewed, played, and interpreted very differently. God, harp too much on about the referee, but really poor game. I think we were talking before we came on air. I don't know how you guys feel about it, viewers and listeners, but I think why Siemens, and thank you for saying, yes, that's how we say his name. It's Siemens, apparently. So that's what I'm going to say. Why he didn't receive a second yellow is because I think because the first yellow was really quite harsh, I think that the referee might have seen that in his dressing room at half time and thought, oh, that probably wasn't a yellow, and so didn't give him a second yellow. That's the only reason I can come up with. But I don't want to waste too much time or energy debating on what the referee was thinking about tonight. He had a poor game, but, we got the result, right?
Yeah. Quickly just on it, and it's final one of the referee. We'll come on to Dow on this. Spurs wanted a penalty. Should they have got one, Dow? Richarlison used his body to barge into the ground by Pape Gueye on the night. I don't know. I mean, it looked like Richarlison, bless him, was trying to make the most of it. I mean, should we have had a pen?
No, for me, it wasn't a penalty. I think when you break down the analysis, Richarlison was looking for it and he didn't. There wasn't enough contact to justify it. And I think when you spoke about the ref guys, I think that's one thing we've got to think about when we're in Europe. The refereeing standard changes. And there's different, like even the handball rules are different in this competition. And they're not as kind of, oh, it hit your hand, it's a penalty. There is a little bit more thought process in it that we have to be aware of. And if I'm honest, I think Simmons was very lucky because for me, on the level of the gameplay, he should have gone. And I think that's where I looked at Frank and went, be careful. There was nerves there. That was a player like Richarlison that was riding a very, very, very thin line. And with the way he wanted them to press, there was always going to be a dangling leg where they could have got themselves in trouble. And when he made the first 2 subs and he didn't take either of them off, I went, that could come back to bite us. And then that tackle went down and went, there it is. That's where it's going to get us. And I think the ref there did us a favor because on the standard of what he did, Xavi should have been sent off 100%. That's what should have happened. So we got lucky in that. So I'm not going to berate the referee because he did us a touch.
Miles, you to come in. Go for it, Miles.
Just on that, I think I think Dan was right. We got very lucky with the referee because I believe the Van de Ven challenge later on, I think most European refs would have sent him off. The fact I know we all sit here and think it was a booking, but I think if it was any other European ref, I think it goes. And I don't think VAR overturn it. So we're very lucky that the performance he's had tonight actually has done us a bit of a favour with both Simmons and Van de Ven, because even Van de Ven said in his interview, I didn't know what he was going to give. So that's how worried he was. And even Thomas Frank said exactly the same thing. So we can berate the referee, but actually he's done us a bit of a favour now because we'd have lost Van de Ven and Simmons on another night.
Yeah, that's fair. Look, 2 penalty calls, VAR checks, neither given. Spurs go into the half-time with a helping hand, quite literally, from the goalkeeper. But, I think neither team particularly lived up to what they were billed to be in the first half. But I think second half was that thing that we need to get a second and the ref had a mare. But, in true Tottenham fashion, we were taken right to the last kick of the game to see it over the line. We are going to go for our final break of this show. Let's hear from Lucas Bergvall, who reflects on being part of a Spurs side that are back in the Champions League and have kickstart the group phase with 3 points. Let's hear from Lucas Bergvall and we're back after this.
Tough game tonight. You had to put in the yards again, Lucas. More running and a very combative game as well. Lots of fight in there.
Yeah, a really tough game. I think Villarreal did a great job, but a 1-0 win and a clean sheet. So amazing feeling. Yeah.
How much did you enjoy the Champions League?
Yeah, it's been a dream since I was a young kid to play here and in front of the supporters at home, and a win couldn't be better. Yeah.
Did you feel the level tonight? Did it play out how you would have expected it to?
Yeah, as said, I think Villarreal did a good game, but at the same time we're better. We don't have a shot. They don't have a shot on target today, so it tells a lot about us and this season. Yeah.
Lucas, we spoke at West Ham and we spoke about the Champions League, and then I sort of came away from there and I thought, what people forget is that last season you played, I think it was the first 12 Europa League games, then you got your injury and you missed the final.
Yeah.
So to now step into the Champions League, I mean, how special is that for you, mate?
Yeah, I really struggled with that to get injured last season, but need to be with the team and to support them. And we managed to win the Europa League, so to play today was an unbelievable feeling. As I said, crazy.
How did it feel when your cross ended up in the back of the net?
I tried to do a celebration, then went, maybe it was not my goal, so I just started to joke though.
A half celebration.
Yeah, it was a half celebration, yeah, that's true.
What is this form coming down to that you're in at the moment, Lucas? You're flying at the moment and you look so comfortable out there. Is there anything different that you're doing or anything different that you're feeling?
I just try to work hard every day to get better, to listen to the coaching staff, to get better, look at videos, analyze everything to keep going, and I'm not done yet. We have a new game on Saturday, so today we enjoy and then tomorrow wake up and go again. Yeah.
Who are you working with in the coaching staff in terms of individually? Is there anyone that you're getting a bit of time out of that you're trying to get those extra gains?
Everyone depends. I think everyone has done a great job for the team to be better and better, and you can see this season we had a lot of good games, so we just need to keep going. Yeah.
Just finally, Lucas, great moment at I think it was the first throw-in. You got the crowd going, you could feel them behind you.
Yeah.
How much of a boost does that give you when you know at the moment we're such a threat from set pieces and you can feel that the crowd is kind of starting to pick up on that?
Yeah, it feels amazing, as they always do, always support, and as you said, when they're coming more and more with us, it's just great. It feels like we can score more goals now.
So there you go. That was Lucas Bergvall beat Villarreal by 1-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Thank you to over the 5,500 that are still watching us live. As always, thank you ever so much for your incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. It's the late night shows. It's the Champions League nights we're bringing you. We're going to try and make this panel happen if we can throughout the competition. We're joined by best actors in the world, TJ Ramini. The Heart Man is on talking Tottenham. T talking Tottenham, I add. We're also joined by Miles at the Spurs Kings, running the decks in the background. He is. And look, again, Lucas Bergvall there commented about the unity of the group. We'll come on, I think, and close on that point on the show because we've had some really interesting quotes from both Frank and Romero in this last 24 hours about how good that unity is at the moment and the dressing room around the club. And, for those that are watching the show, this picture really emphasises just how much unity there is right now. You've got the manager and the captain coming down the tunnel, embracing at full time with the fans. Again, 1-0, appreciate we want more goals, appreciate we want to see better performances, but it is a work in progress. And I think, again, look, like we've said, I think in the build-up to Frank's arrival at Tottenham, he doesn't always have great starts when he goes. And I think when you look at the start he's had so far, what we're sitting third in the Premier League. Again, I know it's an early table. We've taken 3 points out of 3 from our first Champions League game. I think there's reasons to be optimistic. I think in the last 18 months, I think even as a family on Last Word on Spurs, there's been a lot of discussions off air that I'm not sure we could bring on air, which is really, I think, to some degree, put everyone in difficult positions. Again, we all want to be optimistic about the future. And I think, I am seeing right now, there's a real feeling, certainly from what it feels from the club and the change in ownership as well. Can't forget that as well. Daniel Levy stepping to a side once again. And for those that weren't aware, we did see the new lieutenants to some degree at the stadium. You had obviously once again you had Viv Lewis there. I say new lieutenants; they've been lieutenants, but they've now come back into life after 24 years of seemingly being faded into the existence. Viv Lewis was there, Nick Boycher was there, Vinay Venkateshan was also there on the front line. So Look, it'll be interesting what they're going to do during this time. And I spoke a lot in the last week about what they can do with regards to, windows being closed. Will they look at, improving contracts, the likes of Mickey van der Ven, Christian Romero. But before we come on to close on that point about Unity, second half wise, I mean, look, one of those games again where, look, let's be honest about it, could have really passed you by second half. There were some concerning moments, some hairy moments, to be fair. I think the concern would have been that we didn't really start that great from half time. I think Frank would have wanted to get into the lads and try and really G them up for the second half. But it was there. It felt like there was a real lack of movement in terms of that midfield. I think it seems to be quite static. A lot of sloppy passing, Dow. Just to start with you on that point. And we go and get away from that second half, a lot of sloppy passing. But, the good thing is Frank is acknowledging that in his press conference and saying, that's something we are going to highlight in the coming days. And for those that didn't actually go and watch the interesting video there was between Michael Carrick and Thomas Frank pre-game on Amazon Prime, I'd suggest if you haven't had a chance, go and watch that. Frank says before the games and even at half-time, his analysts are actually working with him on 7 or 8 direct clips to show the players where they can improve. I think the good thing out of that game, Hartman, is there's a lot they can improve on. So you'd like to think the analysts are going to be very, very busy in these next few days ahead of Brighton on Saturday.
Oh, 100%. And I think that's why I'm looking forward to seeing how we progress under Frank, because he is that style of manager who does analyze things really, really in intense detail. But like you say, it's a presentation. He shows it to you. Look, here, learn, see, this is what I'm expecting. This is the growth. Sometimes you can tell a guy something and they don't get it. But when you go, this is what we're trying to do, then they follow it. And I think that's the beauty of what Frank's introducing and his team introducing. And that's why I'm excited about the progress, because you look at a player like Bergvall, you look at Sarr, you look at the young minds that he has to develop and grow. And also, we've got to remember what our start of the season was. You had a Romero that was going to be out the door, and now we stuck around. And like you said about this unity, if he can bring them all together in the way that he wants them to play and really get this team clicking and gelling, there's high potential there. There is a lot that this team can grow into and become. And I think that's why the second half is disappointing, because you look at it and go, we're better than that. We deserve better than that. These players are better than that. And we weren't today. And I think that's where we can get frustrated. And I understand everyone is frustrated. I get it. Because if you just watch it for what it was a frustrating performance. If you take it in the context of what we're building, it's a starting point. And that's where there's so much to learn from. If we had a manager that came out and said, that was great, we all should be panicked.
Yeah,
but we've got a manager that's come out and said, we need to look at this and that, and that's what we need to improve on. So I'm with him all the way.
I can't just say on that point, I didn't know to do him down, because I know many might have felt he was out the door too early. But if you remember Nuno, 3 games in his reign at Spurs, we had 3 straight wins. I think one of them 1-0. And Nuno made the point that it was fantastic in those first 3 games. And it was brilliant, which I think to us as fans at the time gave us a lot of concern. The good thing about Frank is he's recognising there's a lot of work to be done here. And we are such in the early initial stages that, again, the second half really was the fact, like he said, we kept giving away the ball time after time after time. We touched on it already. Simmons very lucky to escape without a second yellow card for a foul on Pepe. Marcinho was booked as the manager for complaining about the decision. And look, Frank, to be fair, did make some changes. João Palhinha and Destiny Udogie replaced Pat Matassar, Jed Spence. As we mentioned, Thomas Partey came on with loud boos of "You know what you are." I'm sure he didn't really want to be introduced, but he was introduced to the Tottenham faithful. How much he must have loved that. Quite not. Palhinha followed from a Colomani knockdown. But I think one of the controversial decisions coming towards the end of the game, Miles, on this point, and we'll bring TJ in as well after this, is Mickey van der Ven booked for bringing down Mikotutse. I think I could maybe tell you I've absolutely butchered that guy's name. I feel like I have. It was clean through on goal. It was just outside the box. Booking for Van der Ven. Free kick to Villarreal. Pepe flashed a free kick just wide, but some are claiming that it could be as one of the best yellow cards in Van der Ven's career if we go on to win the Champions League. I mean, thoughts on that overall incident, Miles, and how it played out? Because Hearts were probably in Miles in those first few minutes. We were really relying on VAR to bail us out because, again, referee made a very quick decision and actually pointed straight to the spot originally.
Yeah, so I think the biggest issue that I had in all of this was the bit before he goes clean through. If you go back where you were showing the picture where he lays the pass, he's on his own. He's got the freedom of Tottenham Hotspur. The players are all on one side. And I think this is what's been my concerns in the last few games, and we are giving these chances away, especially because I've the same thing happening against West Ham, where they're all on one side of the pitch, and Paqueta then has the freedom in the area to do what he had to do, and then the same tonight. But yeah, you are absolutely spot on. This will probably go down as the best yellow card if we do anything going through, because I thought he gave a penalty at first, and then I think it was clearly outside. That's what we could see. I was like I said earlier, I was surprised that he gave a yellow card. I thought he was going to give a red card, and I believe that if it was another referee tonight, I believe he gets a red card. And I think he gets away with it. I think what they saw was, because the ball's going away from goal and Romero and Vicario are there where they are, I think he's got enough backup to go, actually, that's why it's a yellow card, and no one will make a big deal out of it. But yeah, so lucky that if you look, if I don't know if people have watched the Real Madrid game yet and watched one of the penalties in that, if we had that ref tonight, Van der Ven's gone. Literally gone, and he's walking off that pitch. So I'm happy that we had the ref tonight, I'm not going to lie, because of this. He got the correct decision. And I think that's where a lot of people sit there and go, yeah, he's had this sort of game tonight. But actually, both teams were poor. That's got nothing to do with the ref and his performance. Both teams had one shot on target all game. I'm sorry, that's not, and there was 9 shots overall, I think, from each. That's got nothing to do with the ref. That's down to both teams just being so poor in front of goal. I think if there was more shots on target throughout the game, and say that they do get a penalty there, I think no one's complaining about the ref. I think we're more going, oh, actually, that was an end-to-end game. But due to the fact it was boring and more it was, the ref's always going to be the next point of call, because he was giving everything kind of scenario, but he was being fair to both teams in the end. So, but yeah, just going back to the Van der Ven piece, go back to topic. Very lucky boy. However, brilliant yellow card. Probably the best yellow card that I've seen for a while.
Yeah. I don't mean to pick up the fact that I've said steady on and we're going to win the Champions League. Look, who knows? I mean, who knows?
I chose to ignore that, Ricky. I chose to ignore it.
Well, I think
we'll all be back for it.
Forgive me. I think as we saw Joe Cole and a colleague of his on TNT tipping us as dark horses. Look, very, very early days. All I can tell you is, and look, people might laugh at me for saying this, defenses do win titles. And, we have looked very strong defensively. It's early days. If we can just somehow, in these next few weeks, try and iron out the issues in attack, which Frank has said he's working on, who knows what this season can bring? Because at the end of the day, look, I appreciate there is a concern at the moment with regards to our attacking outlet. But again, I keep saying this is very, very early days. There was no real 10 out of 10s out there. I think where we saw West Ham, especially in the second half, there was some really good displays. This one, most certainly disjointed. We're not going to try and dress it up and say anything else than what it was. But I think what this does come down to, a result like this is very interesting. It goes back to really what Frank said during his pre-match presser about the unity that's around the team at the moment. Tej, coming over to you, because you've got Romero coming out saying, never ever wanted to leave, never said I wanted to leave. I've got a really good feeling under this manager. And to be fair, I mean, that illustrates itself really in the images that we're seeing right now, even in training with the likes of Frank and Romero, and we're seeing it post-match again with Frank and Romero. It does feel like, Tej, at the moment, there's a really good feeling around the football club, which could be helping us rub off on results. Is that fair at the moment? That's what we're getting us through in these early stages?
It's more than fair. And actually, on the first show that I did of the new season, and I said it on the last show that I was on, for whatever reason, Thomas Frank has the ability to impart his vision of the game and how he wants his team to perform with startling digestibility. This team he's gone, this is what I want. They have taken it and just gone and swallowed it, and it's digested it, and they are giving it to Thomas Frank and his coaching staff. I've never seen quite such an immediate philosophy be accepted at Tottenham. Now, quite rightly so, we have spoken this evening about not pumping the brakes necessarily, but being mindful and exercising a little patience with regards our expectations of how we want the sharper end of the football to go. But again, we have also said we cannot dismiss, and neither should people ignore, the rigidity, the solidity, the unification that has become into immediate effect. My goodness, we are a difficult team to score against. And that is absolutely fundamental. Anybody who knows anything about this game knows you build from the base up. And my goodness, we've got some base, haven't we? You know what I mean? Like, Tottenham's got back. You know, before I get into a whole Sir Mix-a-Lot kind of, angle, we really do look so solid. And that is a fantastically exciting, promising basis to build from. So I'm really pleased at seeing how happy and unified the players are.
Got to say, just to top Totty here, steady on Ricky, we've not played Chelsea yet. I bloody agree with you, top Totty. I'm not saying we are going to win the Champions League. I'm saying anything's still possible. It's very, very early days. But I think what I will go back on the point I keep on saying this is that, like T just said there, it's so important early on when there's a new manager to already get the feeling that players are very much behind him. And, there's happy and smiling faces. And people say, well, look, Rick, there's always happy and smiling faces on, the first few weeks. Ask them 18 months in, that might be a different story. But it is still important, isn't it, Miles, on that point? We are seeing players that are committed to the manager's philosophy, because Spurs made a big change in the summer. They changed the manager, did win a trophy, and they changed it for somebody, with all due respect to Thomas Frank, that is still on that pathway, still learning, first experience in the Champions League. That might upset people with me saying that, but, we made a change. So when you make a change, you have to hope the players are going to have buy-in. And I think we've seen that very, very early on, that buy-in, and that can only be a good thing that, hopefully in these next few weeks, we've got such a big run of games to come now. I don't want to frighten you all. You know how busy it's going to be the next few weeks. Look at your diaries that are coming up. We know how crazy the next few weeks are going to be, Miles. And I think there's going to be a lot of game time between now towards the end of the year where we're going to know a lot more about this Spurs side. And I would like to think, forgive me, I think Dal said it earlier, if we're sitting here come Christmas and this is where we are attacking-wise, then I'd be concerned. But we're here in October and we've had a decent start to the season. There is so much promise right now. And the most important thing is, I keep on stressing here, we know there's stuff to work on, but whilst there's stuff to work on, we're already getting the results whilst that work is ongoing.
Yeah, don't ask Basuma if he's happy though. But for the rest of the squad...
Well, you can't have everything, for God's sake, you know what I mean?
No, on a serious note, look, I expect everyone who's in the squad at the moment and who's been named, I completely expect them to be showing their happiness. He's new. I'm going to sit there and say, none of them players who were here last season want to lose 22 games. So they've come in and they've seen, hold on. But maybe, look, another thing is, maybe there's some...
Apologies, I said October. We are in still September. Apologies. It's been a long night. I've just watched that for 90 minutes.
Yeah. But maybe the players that came through the door in this transfer window has helped that. Because if you go back to last season, we're all complaining about the transfer window, but look who we've added to the roster. So you got Kudus, Paulinho, Moani, and Simmons, right? And forget Tel, Danso, and Toka, because Toka's probably the youngest one, but last year we'll see more of these. If they see them 4 players coming through the door and they're like, hold on, but wait, these are not just players that are for the future. These are players for now. These are players that are going to help us move forward. So that's going to... So it's
also why last season's top scorer can't get in the starting 11, Mark.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And exactly,
the guy who scored the most goals for us,
because
of this window, doesn't start. Sorry to jump in, brother, but you're 100% right, man.
But this, so this is probably part... So, Thomas Frank's a warm guy anyway, but the fact is that actually they can see the club making changes. They can see the club moving forward. And actually, this is probably why they're probably happy with themselves going, actually, this is not the Spurs that we're used to, that we've seen for the last 2 or 3 seasons. And this is why Romero he's gone from going to the Spanish press, talking about how he wants to go to Spain and live in Spain, and that's the last move he wants to make. He can sit there and say he didn't come out and say he wanted to leave Spurs. But we know full well that all the Argentinians and all the South Americans do it. They go back home, and then if they're not happy at a club, they'll talk to their local press, and then that's where it leaks out. And it'll be like, no, it wasn't me. But now he's coming back from Argentina early. He's club captain. He's this, he's that. There's a new lease of life.
Even on the field now, Miles, the way he's talking to his teammates. I don't think I ever saw him that interactive with his teammates.
But it was the interview with Van der Ven. I don't know if anyone saw it, but Van der Ven's about to go for his interview, and then Romero goes and punches him, like to say, "Yeah, that's my boy. Like, well done for that tackle earlier." You can clearly see that basically the defense is happy, all of them. Even though I thought tonight, I'm going to criticize one player that I thought he needs to just get his head in the game. This is not Premier League football anymore. Jed Spence needs to switch on. He just needs to switch on a little bit, because one-on-one can't beat him. But tonight, I think he found it a bit tough because these players are slightly clever than what he's going to come up in the Premier League.
It's a new level, isn't it, Teach? It's a Champions. Miles, it's a new level for these players, isn't it? Yeah.
So you can clearly see that they're all happy. But, let's see how long this lasts, Ricky, because as you said, we're giving them until October, November, and
some are giving them to the 1st of November against Chelsea. Then we'll really see what's going on.
Yeah, and it is going to be November, because November it is Manchester United, Chelsea, and Arsenal.
Yeah,
and that's two rivals that we don't want to lose to.
Yeah,
and then if they threw West Ham in the mix as well, let's say it was West Ham in the mix like we used to get in that month, you kind of will. That's when we'll start to turn in the players. So it's going to be when we go through that first bad bump in the road. Is to see where everybody's at and to see if they're going to be galvanized and see if they're still playing for this match. Because right now, the defense is happy. I think the attackers are all trying to just figure themselves out and work it out at the moment, and that's where we're at.
Yeah. Dow, just to close on you on this point, will Unity see us through this period at the moment? Well, in terms of that patience for the fans, some of them with regards to wanting to see more in attack. I get it. Again, Jason, bless him, he's one of the most advocates on here about seeing Spurs play on the front foot, especially at home. But I think the most important thing for me, I said this again, at the end of season 1, we come at the end of season 1 and we will see an identity about a Spurs team. Again, I remember that first season under Pochettino. I can just only link it back to, because again, we've got a coach in charge. No disrespect to who we've had before that, but somebody that is known for improving and developing players, which Frank is renowned for. I think this will be the key, coming to the end of season 1 and seeing, right, who has improved. And already, I don't mean to do down other managers. I'm already seeing great improvement, very early doors for the likes of Sarr, for the likes of Bergvall. Already, we're only weeks into the new reign of a manager here. I really do hope, at this stage, fans are looking at more the positives rather than negatives and thinking to themselves, well, look, there's a lot to build on here. There's a lot to build on. I hope that's going to be the feeling at the moment rather than focusing on negatives. Because right now, we've started off the Champions League campaign with a win. We're fairly decently placed in the Premier League. We've got the Carabao Cup coming involved in a few weeks' time. This could be a really, really positive season. I do think, Lee McQueen does make a point sometimes. I think as fans, we also have to play our role in this. Sometimes we can be negative as well. Like the Europa League final, I think a lot of us manifested us to win there. We did not believe in our minds we were going to lose that. I think sometimes that also plays a role in it. As fans, we have to get used to winning more. I think we always are waiting for the next kind of big crisis, where right now, we've made a fairly decent start. Why can't we build on this? Why are we going to look at the negatives now?
I think it's about leveling our expectations. I think we become a fan base that sometimes we set the benchmark or we set the margins too far apart for ourselves. And right now we're in a position of transition, but we're transitioning in a positive way. And I think sometimes we can be too far forward thinking in going, we want the passionate football, we want the expressive football, we want the goals now, rather than seeing where we're at in the process. And it is a hard one because we have a fan base that at times we want different things. And I think overall we want to win. And I think that's where what I would say to any Spurs fan right now who is annoyed, frustrated about the level of performance we're giving right now. Remember, the end of the season, we won our first trophy for a long time. We became winners again. And that feeling grows in us and sometimes can overtake us because we want to win again so quickly. This is now a process to get there again. That's what we're building to. But we're building with a coach, not a manager, a coach who is going to develop these young players, develop this team, develop the culture, the individuals, the ethos. He's building it all. And Rome was not built in a day. We're all highlighting the same point. You start at the bottom, you start at your base, and you work your way up. And what he's doing is showing us, if we want to see it, if you want to see what's there, that our defense is stronger, the unity is better back there. We've kept our captain. We're building something that looks strong. We're not going to lose Van der Ven with hamstrings being pulled every game because it's worked differently now. Now he's going, I can see what we need to do at the other end of the pitch. How do I integrate a Brennan Johnson? How do I work Xavi into the middle? How do I get the most out of Kudus? How do I get the most out of Dominic Solanke when he comes back in? What is my left winger? Is it Odegaard? Is it Tel? Is it somebody else? This is what he's looking at. And once we get all these pieces right, we can celebrate. But as Spurs fans, let's take our time with this process. Let's not shoot the players down when they make mistakes. Let's not shoot them when the goals don't fly in when we want to. Because there is going to be a result where we don't play well and we don't win. We've had one, there will be more. But let's not hang them on that. Let's say we're in the process. All right? If we lose 4-5, let's have a conversation. But one, let's not throw our toys out the pram.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing, isn't it? Here we are, even we're winning. And I don't mean it disrespectfully, you know, I know people want more, and I get that. You know, there should be no problem in striving for more, but at the same time, we've also got to be grateful to some degree. We've made a fairly decent start. You know, again, it's difficult when you're under, you know, again, you know, with all due respect, the regime that we've been under when it comes to improvement of players and trying to push and move things forward. So, you know, again, this is going to be a very, very telling now next few weeks for Tottenham in terms of how they are going to navigate the games that we've got to come. Champions League involvement, Carabao Cup involvement, going to be fascinating. I just want to finish on a couple of quotes that we've had out from Spurs in this last hour. Lucas Bergvall, once again, Lucas Bergvall named man of the match. Tej might be right. He might be growing into becoming that big player under Thomas Frank. He said it was really, really tough. Villarreal did a great performance, you know, but a 1-0 win at home is still amazing. We took a lot about clean sheet mentality, and they did not have a shot on target. So we did a really, really good job. Thomas Frank also commented on João Palhinha and said he's a very good player. He stabilised us more in the middle of the pitch. So that helped us definitely. The players are working very, very hard on the foundation that we've built. And in terms of our defensive organisation, we can't complain. We gave very, very little against a Champions League team, but we do want more in our attack. But Tottenham do end match day 1. 3 points, a clean sheet, and a simply stunning tifo to go with it. And we roll on to Brighton at the weekend. I want to say a massive thank you to a top-tier panel, the wonderful Darren Hart. Make sure you're checking out Tea Talking Tottenham. We're going all hours around the world, quite literally wherever they're recording. It's a secret location. We'll never know where it is. Dale, thank you so much. You've been a star. Thank you for jumping back on. It could have been a night off. It wasn't a night off, Dale. Unmute for us and send us some love before you go.
Always a pleasure being here. You know that. Love you all. Big up and blessed to everybody. Yes, Tea Talk and Tottenham is about. If you want to check it out, we're there. Me and Mr. Ricky Norwood doing what we do. And as I keep stressing, I'm never leaving here. I'm always going to be here. You know the midnight hours is where I suit. You know I'm here for you. My location will keep changing in the background as well, but I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Love you all.
I was waiting for the top to get ripped then. I was waiting, Mars, as well. That's a mania. That's a mania. Maybe. I'll tell you. Miles, thank you so much, mate. Always a pleasure. I know we're putting everyone through the ringer right now. A lot of games to come. The last one of Spurs family are getting worked harder than ever right now, but we'll be with you every step of the way, right, Miles?
Oh,
here comes the graveyard period. What we got to come here. A lot of games coming.
Yeah, we've got a lot of games coming, but hopefully more clean sheets. That's all we want. Clean sheets, and we're happy. Then we know that, you know, and then we can see the progress later. But look,
I'll let you have that chat with Jason in the morning then.
Yeah. Look, do you know what? Do you know what the biggest thing I found in the last month of episodes? Ricky's happy. You can tell he's happy when he's presenting. So if they're keeping him happy, we're happy. So all good. But yeah, love to everyone and everyone who's tuned in tonight. You've been wonderful as always.
Yeah,
big
thank you again.
And Hartman and TJ. Yeah, Hartman and TJ. What can we say, Ricky?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Tops, right? Tops. OG GOAT panel it is. Miles, thank you so much. We're going to see you. You're back with us for the next one. I feel like that's the same for you in the next couple of months. Tej, thank you so much, mate. Always a pleasure having you on here. And I think the great thing, Tej, you've reiterated is that we're on a journey again. I know some wanted the journey to be different, but here we are again. And it's going to take time, right? It's going to take time.
Yeah, and it already is different. You know, again, I think it's so interesting that so much of following a football club it really is a parallel to our lives. And I think that it's very important for all of us to just stop for a moment so, you know, we can see the wood for the trees. You know, we wanted seismic transfers. We wanted change. My goodness, we wanted change. We have it. Like the biggest change at the football club in 25 years just occurred 2 weeks ago. So we have that Tottenham family. We wanted to bring in some exciting, tried and tested talent. We have that as well. A lot of these players have hit the ground running. And to Darren's point, and to Marlon's point as well, the ethos, the very philosophy, the core principles of the club, the lens that people apply to this football club has changed entirely. The players are, of course, aware of that. And so the expectation upon them has actually been, for the first time in decades, been met. They're saying, what is it that you want to do to be successful as a football club, not as a business or a corporation? And they have said, we will provide you with that. This is a wonderful time to be a Tottenham supporter. And my goodness, we deserve it. I truly believe, of course, I'm biased. There's no point me saying I'm unbiased. I do believe we have a wonderful fan base who are committed and dedicated and loyal, who are articulate and eloquent and enlightened. And of course, so many of those people are on this panel and watch and view the show. So my thanks to you all as always. Do please like and subscribe to the show. My goodness, Ricky works so hard. It helps him enormously. He's a lovely man, not just a Tottenham expert and a pundit. And we're ever so proud when we see you on other shows, Rick. So please do show him the love and the respect that he so keenly deserves. My love to you all, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Bless your heart, TJ. I agree with every word you said there, apart from when you said expert. I think, bloody hell, expert. Gotta ask my wife if she thinks I'm an expert on anything. Probably not.
I said at Tottenham.
At Tottenham. At Tottenham.
That's it. I drew a line under that.
TJ, you're a diamond. Guys, there you go. Spurs off the mark in the Champions League. Let's hope this is going to be the start of where we're excited about what is to come. Thomas Frank, work on that offensive system. Phase 1 is in place. 2 and 3 to come. From the wonderful Darren Hart over at Talking Tottenham. Get over there, like, subscribe, view, listen, do all the great stuff from Mars at the Spurs Kings. Like, subscribe over there. To TJ Ramini, go grab a quiz on your way to California or Hollywood or Bollywood or Brentwood, wherever you're going to be. We have been the last one on Spurs. We are off the mark in the Champions League. Thank you so much for your incredible support. Keep safe, keep well, and as always, come on you Spurs.